Okay. All right. Well, we're actually going to start on our backs today. So I don't know if that's going to work for us or against us, but we're going to start on our backs. So let's go ahead and actually turn around, Sandy, so your head's towards me. Why? Well, because when I have you flip over, then at least you don't have to flip over again in that awkward turning around type of thing. All right. And the first thing that I want you to do is I want you to figure out how it feels comfortable for you to lie here. So if your legs are straight, your legs are straight. If your knees are bent, your knees are bent. Do you want your arms touching the body? Do you want them off the body? You might find that if the arms are off the body, sometimes it feels good to have them out to the side or even up and over your head, but you'll just take a few breath cycles here to let yourself land. And I want you to find your landing by actually taking a few breaths in and a few audible breaths out. Yeah, two more just like that. And very last one. Big breath in. And big breath out. Fantastic. And then from here, you can continue to just fall into your breath and fall into the body and let that be however it's going to be. Our focus for today is noticing if you can be present. I've noticed that sometimes in my own life, I find myself rushing towards the future or digging up the past, but very rarely do I find myself content in the present. But you'll notice that if you are in the present, everything is always okay. So for the next few breath cycles, I'd like you to start to tone the back of your throat. Invite in a soft Ujjayi pranayama and allow that to just really continue to anchor your awareness. And every time we explore a different shape, the goal is again to focus on your breath. As you're ready, you'll inhale and start to open the arms out into a T shape, mindful of your neighbors if you have them. If your legs are straight, go ahead and bend the knees, plant the feet about hip distance apart. From here, let's go ahead and reach your right leg up towards the sky. Interlace your hands at the back of that right thigh and go ahead and take a few little ankle circles here. And you'll just notice what it feels like to start to find movement in the ankle. Go the other direction if you haven't already. And then notice if you can come back to your breath. Have you already lost the breath or can you come right back to it? Fantastic. Go ahead and come to a still neutral spot. Open the arms back out to that T or cactus shape. Cross the right leg completely over the left. So like you're sitting in a dress, you don't want to flash everybody, so thighs touching. And then from here, you're going to pull both legs over to the right, resist with the left leg. And with the arms open in that T shape, you might start to take your gaze over towards the left. You might wiggle walk the left foot a little bit more to the left, but you're pulling down with the right thigh on the top of the left thigh, finding a nice stretch across the top of the left hip, maybe across the abdominal region, and maybe up into the shoulder, depending upon how the body's feeling. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe, again, pulling down with the right thigh, pressing up with the left. Steady, deep breath. Next in breath, come back up to center. Gently uncross the legs. Plant the feet back on the floor, hip distance apart, and just notice if you notice anything between the sides. And then as you're ready, you'll inhale and extend that left leg, bless you, up towards the sky. Interlace the hands at the back of the thigh. And again, a few gentle ankle circles here. And again, come back to the breath. Sometimes when we're doing things like this, the breath can easily escape us because the pattern of the foot seems kind of erratic. Let's see if you can keep a calm, smooth breath. And then change the direction of that ankle circle if you haven't. Good morning, Laura. So Laura, we're lying on our back to start. Please make sure you have 2 blocks and a blanket. Awesome. And then once you feel complete with that, go ahead and come to stillness. Open the arms out into that T cactus shape again. Cross the left leg completely over the right so the thighs touch. And then as you're ready, draw both legs over towards the left. And you, of course, resist with that right thigh. The head will then turn towards the right elbow or hand. And you'll just take a few breath cycles here, feeling Let the line stretch from the outer right hip, maybe across the abdominals, through the ribs and up towards the armpit. And if you'd like a little bit more twist in the upper spine, you can always press into your head, lift your left shoulder, slide it more to the left, and that allows more of the right shoulder to descend. But again, you just pause and you breathe. And then notice if your awareness can always stay connected to the breath. It's not always going to do that, but we just want to return to the breath whenever we can. Next in breath, come back up through center, uncross the legs, plant the feet firmly hip distance apart. And then from here, I'd like you to keep your awareness on your big toes and inhale, open your knees as wide as you can without letting your big toes come up. And then exhale, draw the knees back towards each other. And you'll do about 5 of those, keeping the big toe pressed to the floor the whole time. So it's not going to be super big movement. Yep. And we've got about 3 more. Great. After your next one, you'll go ahead and come back to center and stay for a moment in neutral. Fantastic. Next in breath, extend your right leg up towards the sky. As you exhale, cross that right ankle over the top of the left thigh, flex through the foot. Now keep your arms on the mat for just a little bit, and I want you to play this game with yourself. You're going to draw your left knee as close to your face as possible while pressing your right knee as far away from your face as possible. So the left knee is trying to touch your nose. The right knee's like, no way. Fantastic. Now, once you've got that, some of you will stay right here, just working the legs. Some of you will thread your hands through the whole of your legs, grab either the back of that left thigh, front of your left shin, and you'll breathe here for a bit more. But again, you're working on that idea of left knee is trying to touch the chest, right knee wants to pull away from the chest. Keep flexing through that right ankle. And of course, remember to breathe. Big breaths, noticing if you're holding tension around the shoulders or your jaw. Big breaths. Fantastic. Last exhalation here. On your next in-breath, you'll gently release just the left foot to the floor. Grab your right foot with your right hand. Right foot with your right hand. Allow the left knee to open towards the left. The right knee opens towards the floor, and you find yourself in this awkward half happy baby. So the right knee opens to the right, the left knee opens to the left, and you just take a moment to pause here. And so we're trying to allow the whole left knee to open, so the whole outer edge of the left pinky toe comes to the floor. And you'll notice that then you'll feel stuff happening in your sacrum as you open across the inner thighs. And you just pause and you breathe here in this awkward adult pose, and you just breathe. And you breathe. Right? And continue to allow the left hip to be as heavy as the right hip. Nice job, guys. On your next in-breath, draw the whole left foot back to the floor, draw the right knee towards the chest, plant the right foot next to the left, and just take a moment to notice if you notice anything different between your right and your left side. And then as we're ready, we'll inhale, send the left leg up towards the sky. Exhale, cross the ankle over the top of the thigh, keeping your arms on the floor for just a moment. You're going to play that tug of war sort of pushing game. So the right knee is going to try to touch your chest. The left knee is going to say, no way, Jose, I won't go. And you'll see how far you can get the legs close to the chest while drawing that left knee away from you, right knee towards you. Some of you will continue to stay with this leg activation. Some of you will thread your hands through the holes of your legs, either grab the back of the right thigh, front of the right shin, and then adjust this as necessary for you. So the right knee is really trying to touch your chest. The left knee is like, I don't want to go. And so you'll notice that this gives you a different sensation happening in that outer left hip. And again, just continue to breathe. Notice if you're tensing up around that left shoulder in particular as you try to hold that right leg. And you just pause and you breathe. You got one more breath cycle here. Fantastic. On your next inhalation, gently lower that right foot back to the floor. Grab the outside edge of your left foot with your left hand. Allow the outer edge of the right pinky toe to roll to the floor as you open the right knee to the right, the left knee towards the left. And you've got a few breath cycles here, really paying attention to how heavy your butt, especially on that right side, can be. And then noticing what you need to do to let the right inner thigh open as you're stretching perhaps the inner and maybe outer edge of that left hip. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Nice work, guys and gals. On your next in-breath, draw the right foot to the floor, draw the left knee to the chest, and then plant that left foot right next to the right. From here, go ahead and widen the feet outside of the hips. Widen the feet outside of the hips. There we go. And then as you inhale, gently open the knees as wide as they'll go, keeping your big toes touching. And then exhale, coming back. So big toes stay on the floor. And you've got about 5 of these. And you'll notice that now we're in a wider position. So how much more movement do you have within the hip socket? What's noticing, or what do you notice about the sacrum and the pelvis as you're doing this? Fantastic. And then the next time the knees come back towards center, go ahead and pause there. Walk your feet so they're hip distance apart. Go ahead and reach your arms up towards the sky like happy little zombies. To the sky, little zombies. And we're going to pretend we're zombies that our palms face in. And I want you to reach up so much through your hands that you feel those shoulder blades widen on the back. You are a zombie. You're trying to eat some brains. And eat some brains as you widen those shoulder blades onto the back. Now, keeping your shoulder blades this wide, I want you to reach up and overhead as you reach your hips away from you and arch your low back just a little. Oh, yeah. And you'll notice how the core has to work just a smidge, just a smidge, just a smidge, closing front ribs in, arching low back down, and reaching up through your arms. Fantastic. And you'll just take another breath cycle here. On your next exhalation, reach the arms back up to the sky and allow them to come back towards your hips. Back towards your hips, so back to the floor. Fantastic. Now from here, some of you will plant a block between your thighs, some of you will not. But we're going to take about 5 little bridgy poos. So feet hip distance apart. I want you to really pay attention to what it feels like pressing into your big toes. And you'll inhale, press your hips up. And then you'll exhale and come back down. And I want you to really notice what it feels like to focus on your big toes. You might notice that by pressing and keeping your awareness on your big toes, you actually need to slide your outer heels out just a smidge. You might notice that you need to walk your feet in just a smidge or even away from you just a smidge. But by paying attention to that big toe, we're just noticing how that really anchors the foot, which helps to center the ankle. And it helps the shins and the knees and the hips. And after you've done your 5 little bridges, hopefully figuring out how you need to adjust your feet as you go, we're going to take our last one and we're going to hold there. Once you find yourself up in this bridge, take a moment to figure out what you want to do with your arms. Some of you will robot your arms and wrap the shoulder blades underneath you. Some of your arms will be alongside your hips. Some of you will press down into the floor. Some of you will grab the outer edges of your mat, and some of you will interlace. But you've got 5 breath cycles here, and we're squeezing that block for dear life if we're using it. Yeah. We're noticing if we're gripping all of our toes, and if we can let them go, just press into that big toe. Yeah. And then you're noticing if you're breathing. That breath thing, that's important. Yeah. Fantastic. You got 2 more breath cycles here. Keep pressing into the back of your head and the outer edges of your arms. Yeah. At the end of your next exhalation, gently unclasp the hands, untuck the shoulders, bring the spine back down to the floor and pause, 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 pause. Notice what you notice. How does the body feel? How does the breath feel? Great. Fantastic. From here, if you've got that block, please take that block out. I encourage you to put it over your head, but you do whatever the heck works for you. And then from here, extend the legs long again. Well, maybe for the first time for some of us. Once again, reach your zombie arms up towards the sky. Zombie arms up. Find that width across the upper back. And then I want you to slowly start to activate your feet. Ooh, excuse me there, Roberta. Turn your big toes up to face the sky. Pinky toes pull back towards your face. Yeah, pull your kneecaps up. And then as slowly as you can, you're going to reach your arms up and overhead. Reach your feet away from you and see if you can keep those front ribs drawing in and down. Oh, yeah. And then you pause and you breathe for 3. Reach up through your fingers even more as you reach down to your feet. Yeah. 2. Keep pulling front ribs in. Nice job. Next exhale, go ahead and release your hands alongside your hips. And then as awkwardly as you can, roll over onto your stomach. No, I mean, I feel, yes, I love it, Sandy. That was very awkward. He like contorted himself. Okay, after you've awkwardly rolled onto your stomach, your choice. You can either cactus your arms out into the right and to left, or you can have your arms in a T shape. This is totally up to you. We're all going to look towards our right hand. You're going to slide your right hand elbow thing over to the right just a little bit, then gaze back towards your left hand. Come to the tips of your left fingertips and step your left hand where your elbow was, and then start to roll towards your right. Now, if the right elbow is straight, you'll feel one thing. If the elbow is bent, you'll feel another. All of us are going to press into our right palm for dear life. Yep. We're going to press into our right elbow if the elbow is bent. You're going to pull your right elbow isometrically to your right nipple, and then you might draw your right nipple towards your left thumb. From there, notice if you want to lift your head up or not. And you might play with where you put your head. Sometimes I find like if I lift my head a little bit from the floor and then look towards the floor, it gives me a crazy sensation across the front of my pec. Sometimes I have to like feel like I'm pulling my ears back into my head, and that gives me a crazy sensation. But you're just looking for the sensation that's not too much, but interesting for you so that you can stay present in this moment with your breath. And then after this next breath cycle, you're going to take a big in breath and come back onto your bellies like happy little people. Happy people onto our bellies. Yeah. And then when you're ready, we'll try all that to the other side. So let's look to the left first. Slide left arm elbow thing to the left. Then gaze back to the right. Come to the tips of your right fingertips where your elbow was, and then start to roll towards your left. And then just as we did before, pay attention. So you push down into that left palm, left elbow, drag it towards your left nipple, drag the left nipple towards your right thumb. And then notice if you want to lift your head, if you want to lower the head. Play with what works for you so you find sensation. And I'm sorry I didn't mention on the first side that top leg. So in this instance, your right leg is doing whatever feels good for you. It might be bent, it might be straight. We're really focusing on what's happening in the pec. But you've got 1 or 2 more breath cycles here. Nice work, guys. And then as you're ready, you'll gently make your way back onto your bellies. Happy people indeed. Great. From here, let's bring our thumbs in line with our nipples. Separate your feet about hip distance apart. From here, I'd like you to just keep your palm flat on the floor. I want you to activate your legs a lot. Press your pinky toenails down to the mat, and then like Beauty and the Beast, be the beast and spread wide through your toes and spread and press the toes onto the floor. Press your pubic bone down. Next in breath, push down into your hands, pull your heart forward. And then you might feel like your thumbs spin toward your pinky fingers, and that draws the shoulder blades onto the back. And then you might lift a little bit higher as you pull your heart forward, as you lengthen your tailbone back, as you keep your legs straight, and as you draw the chin slightly towards the chest, yep, and press into the back of the head. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will lift your hands a smidge away from the floor. Some of you will then slide the hands back just another inch and replant them. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will activate the legs, push into the arms, and come into your version of upward facing dog. But you choose what works for you. If you do that, the legs are straight, the toes are active, and you pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. And like, wow, Jessica, that's crazy. We didn't even do anything. Now we're in up dog. On your next exhale, go ahead and lower all the way down. As you inhale, press up to hands and knees. And then as you exhale, curl the toes under, lift your hips up and back, downward facing dog. And for this first down dog, keep your knees super bent, super bent, super bent. Knees super bent. Now coming back to that thing we started with when we were laying on the floor, do you remember how long your arms were when we reached them up and overhead? Oh yeah, fantastic. Your ribs did exactly what they need to. Now with your knees bent, I want you to blossom your buttocks and try to get your sit bones to touch where the wall and the ceiling meet. And then keeping all of that, you're just going to straighten your left leg. Breathe, 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 breathe. Yay, awesome sauce. On your next in breath, bend both knees, and then you're just going to straighten the right leg. And you're trying to keep those front ribs in and back, and you're reaching up, or rather down through your hands like you were reaching up when we were on the floor, and you're breathing, right? We're all breathing, right? We are so breathing. Yes, we are. We are doing a great job with that. Nice job. Next in-breath, bend both knees. And then as you exhale, let's go ahead and curl your tailbone forward, ripple yourself forward into fallen cross in a happy plank pose. And then I want you to notice how you need to put your hands here. Do you want your hands actually underneath your shoulders for today? Or do you want them a little bit wider? Sometimes I notice that when they're a little bit wider, it kind of forces me to work a little bit harder in a weird, odd way. Sometimes it just feels better to have them underneath. So you pay attention to that for you. Take another breath in here. On your next exhale, shift your weight forward, lower all the way down. Inhale into upward dog or cobra. And then as you exhale, we're going to make our way back to our downward facing dog. And you just notice what you notice. We're present minded or present moment aware. Fantastic. Take one more deep breath in and one more deep breath out. And then do that again. Another deep breath in and another deep breath out. Fantastic. Listen closely. Take a big breath in. As you exhale, step your right foot between your hands. From here, you might bring your hands onto your blocks. You might be like, yeah, I don't need that. But you're going to take a big breath in here. And on your next exhale, shift your weight back, straighten your front leg long. And you've got 4 of these. You'll inhale and come forward, happy little lunge. Exhale, shift back, modified pyramid. Yeah, then you've got 2 more on your own, and you're just paying attention to the movement of the breath. The one constant thing is actually movement. And the more that we can allow ourselves to be aware of that, we, I think, can become more present moment. I'm not going to be able to say that. Aware of the present moment. Fantastic. The next time your right leg is straight, let's pause there. You might need to walk your blocks back so they're directly underneath your shoulders. From here, start with paying attention to your back foot. You might lift onto the top of the ball of your left foot, internally rotate your left foot so that the whole leg is active, pulling up through that kneecap. From there, pay attention to your right foot. Make sure your right kneecap is pulling up towards your right hip. Some of you will peel just the toes of the right foot away from the floor. Some of you will shift the weight back even more and pull the whole sole of the foot away from the floor. And then you're going to pause and you're going to breathe there. The outer right hip draws back. Yep, the outer left hip draws forward. And then as best as you can, claw your heart forward. Aha! Now keeping the heart coming forward, reach it towards your toes. So it keeps the long length in your spine and you'll feel a little bit more stuff happening in your hamstrings. Fantastic. One more breath cycle here. Next in-breath, bend the front knee. Cool. This is going to sound lots super awkward, and I'm aware of that. With your front knee bent, I want you to see if you can walk your front foot a little further forward. Front foot a little further forward. Fantastic. Spin your back foot down to the floor. So now we're in a wider lunge than we would normally be. Bring both hands to the inside edge of your right foot. Okay, we're going to keep pressing our right knee forward. You're going to press onto the pinky toe edge of your left foot, and we're going to start to roll our rib cage towards the left. Keep your right knee bent and then start to reach your left arm up towards the sky. And suddenly we found ourselves in a super deep extended side angle. Now we're going to be here for about 5 more breaths. So some of you will keep that left arm towards the sky. Some of you will turn your left palm to face forward and reach it alongside your ears. Fantastic. As you do that, keep pressing onto the pinky toe edge of your back foot. Keep drawing your outer right hip straight back. So the hips are doing different things. And then keep bending into your front knee. Okay, we've got one more breath cycle here. On your next in breath, turn your gaze towards the floor, pivot to the ball of your back foot, pause. Wiggle walk your right foot a little bit towards the right. Wiggle walk the right foot towards the right. Bring both hands to the inside edge of your right foot. Fantastic. Now, some of you will keep your hands, actually, all of you move your blocks and bring your hands to the floor. Great. Now, we're going to take a little pulsing forward and back. So you're going to shift your weight forward, and you're going to shift your weight back. Nope, front leg stays bent. I'm tricking you into core work. The next time you shift your weight back, or rather as you exhale back, the right leg's going to step back to meet your right your left foot in plank, and you're going to take those little pulses forward and back. Oh yeah, look at that. Tricky, tricky, tricky. And you're pausing and you're breathing. And some of you will continue to do with this. Some of you are like, Jessica, I'm done. Some of you will cycle through up dog and cobra, and some of you will meet me back in downward facing dog. You choose what works for you, but you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. And then when you meet back in downward facing dog, however you get there, whenever you get there, we're working on finding that length through the vertebra. We're looking on finding that length in the breath. We forget the value of this moment sometimes, I think, because we're not breathing. So if we just come back to that, that works. So this time, we're not going to lift our left leg up. You're just going to try to step it through. Next sequence, we will let you swing it up because that just feels really good. So take a big breath in. As you exhale, step your left foot between your hands. Fantastic. From here, hands come to our blocks. And then just as we did before, you're going to inhale and gaze forward, look forward, and then exhale, shift your weight back, straighten that front leg long. And you've got 4 sets of these. Say hello, hammies. And you're trying to see how it feels to be in your body at this moment in time. There's nothing else that you have to do. As long as you're breathing and moving, you're doing it. Okay, I'm thinking that's set number 3. Okay, after you've done 4 complete sets, we're going to stay with our left leg straight. Once your left leg is straight, first bring your attention to where your hands are. Walk the hands back so they're underneath your shoulders. From there, bring your attention to your back leg, your right leg. You might shift all of the weight so it's forward on the ball of the foot. Whole heel is active. Internally rotate that back leg. And then we're going to bring our awareness into our front foot. See if you can pull that front kneecap up. Draw that outer left hip back. Yeah. And then some of you will peel just the toes up from the floor. Some of you will peel a whole sole of that left foot away from the floor. And then I want you to claw the mat or claw your blocks, reach your heart and sternum forward, keeping your spine that long, hinge forward at your hips and try to touch your shin towards your chest towards the shin. That's never going to happen for any of us, but that's the aspiration. And then you just pause and you breathe and you pause and you breathe. Fantastic. Next in breath, go ahead and come forward. Now, for most of us, we're going to walk our front foot forward, not you. And then from here, bring both hands to the inside edge of our front leg. Spin your back foot down for warrior 2. So we're trying to take a much longer stance than we normally do. Bring the left hand to the inside edge of the left foot. Press down onto the right side edge of the right pinky toe. From here, you'll start to spin your chest towards the right. Yep. And open the chest so the right shoulder stacks on top of the left. The right arm reaches straight up and you might stay there. You might turn the palm to face forward and reach it alongside your ears. But again, you're pressing onto the pinky toe edge of your back foot for dear life. You're hugging that outer left hip straight back. And then you're trying to find length on the left rib cage to wrap under. Yeah. And because we started with some hip openers, you'd just be surprised. It doesn't feel as wonky as we would have thought. Fantastic. On your next in-breath, gaze comes back down to the floor. Pivot to the ball of your back foot. Plant your palms on the mat. Palms on the mat. Palms on the mat. Fantastic. Wiggle walk the left foot to the left so you've got some space. And then you're going to pulse a little forward and back, forward and back, forward and back. Yep. Next time you exhale and go back, the left foot meets the right, planky pose. Yep. And then you might stay here and do another little 4 sets of the pulses and back. You might go back to downward facing dog. You might cycle through an up dog or cobra, but you choose what works for you, what allows you to stay present in this moment, and then you'll make your way back to downward facing dog. Happy day. Happy day. Happy today. Yeah. All right. Take a little reprieve. Go ahead and lower your knees down to the mat. Find yourself in toe squats. So I guess it's not really a reprieve, but that was good. Different torture, I know. So we're gonna find ourselves in toe squat. We're gonna sit super tall, and this is just sort of a prep for our next thing. So let's go ahead and lift up through our left arm, bend our left elbow, grab the left elbow with the right hand, and you'll press the left elbow to the left as we pull it into the right. Check in with our ribs and see if they're splaying or see if we can pull them back. And then we'll draw our head back and our chin parallel-ish to the floor. Some of you will stay right here happy as a clam. Some of you will reach up with the right hand. Turn your right thumb to the floor, bring it back behind you. Maybe you'll grab your shirt. Maybe you'll grab your left fingers. Maybe you won't grab any of that, and that's okay. But we'll see if we can just lift our head parallel-ish to the floor, head directly centered on our spine, and see if we can breathe for 3. See if we can breathe for 2. See if we can breathe for 1. Very gently release the right hand, reach the left arm up, and then we'll go ahead and switch sides. So bend the right elbow, grab the right elbow with the left hand, press the right elbow to the right as you pull it to the left. Again, checking with the ribs, head on top of the pelvis. Some of you will stay there. Some of you will reach up through the left hand. Left arm comes to the side, thumb swims down, reach the arms behind you, maybe grab for your shirt, maybe grab for the opposite hand. But wherever you are, you pause and you breathe. Fantastic. Last 2 breath cycles here. And then as we're ready, you'll gently release. Both hands come up. From here, come forward, hands and knees. Happy pitter patter, temper tantrum. Yay! We were there for a long time. And then as you're ready, you'll shift your weight back, maybe stretch one end or both shins, ankles, knees, whatever feels appropriate for you. So that feels really nice right now. I'm gonna stay here for a bit. Would you pause and you breathe? And then when you were ready, we're gonna go back to downward facing dog. And then you just pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe, and then you pause and you breathe. And then coming back to what we did at the very beginning of practice, making sure that you can lift up through those arms, closing the front ribs in and lifting the hips up. Now here's where we'll get to do our swing. So inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Pause here, pay attention to those ribs, reach down through the right or left heel or reach up through the right. Exhale, draw the knee to the nose and then plant the foot between the hands. Nice breath work, guys. Go ahead and spin your back foot to the floor, and we want to find our warrior 2 legs again. Go ahead and bring that right hand to the inside edge of your right foot. Now again, draw the right knee forward, pull the outer right hip back, and you might find that you want to actually walk that front foot forward just a little bit more like we did for the first time. Some of you will do that and some of you will not. Then you'll start to inhale, lengthen your heart forward, and then exhale, open your rib cage towards the left, stacking the left shoulder on top of the right. Fantastic. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will turn your left thumb so it faces behind you. Sweep the hand behind you and see if you can touch your right thumb. Yep. Some of you will stay right there. Some of you will push into both feet and maybe reach your right hand underneath you for a bind. Whether you do that or not is not important. I want you to just pause and breathe, and you're continuing to bend the right knee forward, reach around the chest, and open up. Fantastic. Very gently release the bind if you took that. Root down through your feet, look towards the floor. You will start to walk your right hand forward, walk your left foot in, shift your weight forward, and come into a half moon. Some of you will use your block. Some of you will not. Take your time coming into this because this is our first balance pose. So you might need to activate that left foot even more and lift it up. You might find that you need to bend the supporting leg just a little. You might find that you slowly roll the rib cage towards the left. And you might find that the gaze slowly rolls to the right, to the left as well. And then when you're ready, the gaze will come back to the floor. You will bend your front knee. And as gracefully as you can, step back to your first warrior 2. Yeah. And then you just take a moment to pause. And how did all that go? Great? Great. Not so great? Great. That's okay. You're present. How are you breathing? That's all that matters. How are you breathing? Where's the tension in the face? Where's there tension in the body that's not needed? The more that we can allow ourselves to just be like, this is an experience, we'll be okay. On your next in-breath, flip the front palm, reverse your warrior, and take a few breath cycles here in Viparita Virabhadrasana. And then as you're ready, you'll exhale, cartwheel hands down to the floor, pivot to the ball of the back foot, step yourself back to plank pose. You might stay there, you might cycle through, you might just go to a downward facing dog, but you'll just choose whichever option works best for you. And you'll pause and you'll breathe, and you'll pause and you'll breathe. Continue to keep your awareness on those front ribs drawing in as your hips lift up. Yep. Okay. Last breath cycle here. Great. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. Pause here for a breath. Reach down through the right heel, reach up through the left. As you exhale, draw the knee to the nose, and then step the foot between your hands. Pause. Bring both hands to the inside edge of your left foot. Spin the right foot to the floor for warrior two. Take a moment to find your extended side angle. So you're going to take this at your time. We all know how to do this shape. So you're going to press into the big toe mound of your left foot. You're going to press into the pinky toe edge of your right foot. You're going to let the inner left knee go forward as the outer left hip goes back. And then you might extend that right arm where the right thumb turns back towards your bum. You sweep it back behind you, and maybe you touch your left hip, and that's fantastic. Some of you might bend into that front knee even more in order to bring that hand back behind you and maybe clasp. And if so, great. If not, great. And then you just pause and you breathe. If you've taken the bind, you'll gently release the hands back down. So left hand comes to floor, right arm goes back up. From here, turn the gaze down to the mat. From here, you'll bend the front knee, you'll step the left hand forward, you'll crawl the right foot in, and you'll shift your weight forward to half moon. And you just take your time to get there. If you get it, great. If you don't get it, great. Does not matter. It's just a yoga pose. As long as you're breathing, you're doing it. So you might bend that left knee, that's the supporting leg. You might lift up through that inner right thigh a little bit more. You might draw the outer left hip back a smidge and let the rib cage roll towards the right. As you're ready, the gaze comes back down to the floor. You bend your front knee. You confidently step back to your warrior two. Whoa, that was fantastic, guys. And then you just take a moment to pause. You did the hard stuff. Now can you breathe? Are you breathing? Are we breathing? Keeping the legs active. Are we breathing? Yeah. On your next in-breath, flip the front palm, reverse your warrior Viparita Virabhadrasana. Yeah, and you just take a few breath cycles here. And then as you're complete, you will exhale, cartwheel the hands down to the floor, pivot to the ball of the back foot, come to a plank pose. You might cycle through an up dog or cobra, or just meet in downward facing dog. But we're going to pause and we're going to breathe and we're going to see how that's going. And then after you've gotten to your down dog, your choice of rest pose, you can stay in down dog or you can rest in child's pose for a bit, but you choose. You've got about 3 to 5 breaths. So whether you're resting in child's pose or resting in down dog, it's totally up to you, but you just breathe and drink things. Great. All right. So from either your child's pose or your down dog, how do I want to make you guys do this? We'll all come back to down dog. So make your way to down dog. And actually, I lied. Come back to hands and knees. Make sure you have your blanket in the center of your space and then make your way back to downward facing dog. I know. I just did it 2 different ways this week. Sometimes I started having you guys be here and then just step your foot. And sometimes I swung the leg forward. So I guess you guys seem to like the 3-legged dog version into it. So we'll go into it that way. All right. So from downward facing dog, let's go ahead and inhale. Sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, step that right foot outside of your right hand. Oh yeah, we're back to that thing. Fantastic. Now, once you're here, I'd like you to go ahead and lower your back knee down onto your blanket and bring your hands to your blocks. All right, so some of us are going to stay right here and be happy as a clam. Some of us are going to start to push into our front foot, and we're going to push into our back knee. And then I want you to lean your weight forward enough that you can release the left foot away from the floor. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will sweep your left hand back to grab the outside edge of your left foot. Draw your left heel towards your left hip towards your left heel. Some of you will be like, yeah, Jessica, this is crazy. I'm going to stay here and just hug my elbow back, my shoulder blade back. Some of you will be like, yeah, that's nothing, boss. And you'll slide your right arm up to the top of your right thigh. Now, if you do that, you're still pushing into your right foot a lot. You're pushing into your left knee a lot. You might start to bring yourself up a little bit more vertical. And we're just paying attention to what the sensation is happening. And are we breathing or are we holding our mouths and not breathing? Both. Okay. Awesome sauce. Great. And then from here, we're going to gently come out of it. Now, the release is more important. So shift your weight forward. If that right hand came away from the block, bring it back to the block. Engage your left foot leg thing before you let go with your left hand. Bring the left hand back to the block and then slowly, slowly, slowly release the left leg long. Fantastic. Once the left leg touches the floor, tuck the toes under, straighten the leg long. Hands will come back down to the floor, and then shift your weight back to downward facing dog. And just notice how that works, how you're feeling right side to left side. Yep, we did it. Fantastic. All right, now we'll try it again. Inhale, lift your left leg up and back. And then as you exhale, step the left foot outside of your left hand. Fantastic. From here, go ahead and lower your back knee to the mat. Bring your hands to the blocks on the inside edge of your left foot. Great. And some of us will stay here. We're just going to push into that left foot and draw our pelvis forward. Some of us will start to shift the weight forward enough to bend our right knee. You might stay there happy as a clam. Some of you might shift your right hand back to grab the outside edge of your right foot. And then you draw your hip back to draw your hip and your heel towards each other. Some of you will be like, yeah, I'm good. I'm staying here. Some will be like, look, Ma, no hands. And you'll slide that left arm up. Now, if you do that, we're pressing the left foot a lot. We're pushing to the right knee a lot. We're lightening our tailbone down. And that right elbow shoulder thing is going as back as it can go. And then we're going to notice if we're doing stuff with our face. And then are we breathing? That's important, maybe. Are we breathing? Or maybe it's not, okay. I don't know. And then when we're ready to come out, we're going to try to gently reverse engineer it. So shift the weight forward, left hand comes back to left block. Engage the back of the right leg, release the right hand comes to the block. Slowly lower the right foot towards the floor. Tuck the toes under, straighten the leg long. Go ahead and plant both hands on the mat. And then step yourself back to a downward facing dog. Happy doo-dah, we made it. All right. And then you're just going to pause and you're just going to breathe and you're going to notice what you notice. Okay. We're going to do one more thing. On your next in breath, sweep your right leg up and back. As you exhale, step the right foot between your hands. Fantastic. Go ahead and lower the back knee down to the floor. Bring your hands to your blocks again. Now, this is going to be one that you can pay attention to this for you. So some of you might still wiggle walk the right foot outside of the right hand. Some of you will stay right here. This is just totally up to you. We're going to take a twist. So you're going to bring the right hand to the top of the right thigh, push down into the right hand, push down into the left hand, pull the low belly up on the right side, and you're going to roll to the right. You might stay there happy as a clam. You might then do the same engagement we did on the other side. So you're going to shift the weight forward enough to lift the left knee up. Flex the left heel, reach that right hand back and grab the outside edge of the right foot. Draw the pelvis back to draw the hip and the heel towards each other. You might notice that the block needs to come with you, and that's okay. And then from there, shift the weight forward. And you're just paying attention to how this changes the sensation on your quadricep. And you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. Very mindfully, we're going to release that back foot. We're going to bring our hands back down to the blocks. This time you're going to shift your weight back, bringing both hands onto the block, straightening your front leg along. Now, Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will keep the sole of your right foot on the floor. Some of you will peel the toes up and away from you. Some of you will peel the whole heel up and away from the floor. And you might stay as you are. You might externally rotate the whole right thigh, so from the top of the thigh all the way down to your pinky toe. You might come back to neutral. You might play with that a few times. But we're going to pretend that we're still doing that pyramid variation that we did before. So you're culling your heart forward by drawing your hands back so heart goes forward. And you're just noticing what that feels like. Fantastic. And then let's go ahead and come back through center. And then just because we haven't done it in a while, we're going to not go for the full one, but you're going to slide your front leg forward just a little bit. Maybe walk your blocks forward. And you're going to find your version of half Hanuman that feels interesting to you. So we're not going for full Hanuman. We're just going for a half Hanuman or 3/4 Hanuman or maybe 7/8 Hanuman. Whatever feels interesting for you. I know. 7/8. I don't even know what that is as a number. What is that? 7? 87.5%. Thank you, Sandia. And then after you're done exploring your Hanuman, at least mentally, I want you to drop into your breath. And then notice what you feel in the body. Where can you allow yourself to soften just a little bit? Where might you need a little bit more engagement so that you can soften? And then after this next exhalation, you'll go ahead and inhale and start to shift your weight out. So you might drag that right foot back. You might bend to the right knee, plant the foot on the floor, plant the palms on the mat, straighten the back leg long, and take yourself back to your downward facing dog. And then again, you'll just take a moment to notice, how was the right side? How was your left side? How was your breath? Oh yeah, we're breathing. How are you? Fantastic. And then as we're ready, we'll try all that on the other side. So inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And then as you exhale, draw the knee to the nose, step the foot between the hands. Fantastic. From here, go ahead and lower your back knee to the mat. Bring your hands to your blocks. And then first things first, we're going to press into the left foot, push the left hand into the belly of your left thigh, push down into your right hand, and start to peel the left belly away from the left thigh. From there, you might stay there. You might shift your weight forward enough to lift your right foot up and away from the floor, flexing through the foot. You might swing your left arm back to grab the outside edge of your right foot. You might draw your bum back, which may require that you take the block back and maybe turn it up a tick. And then maybe drawing heel and hip towards each other, shift the weight forward and rotate and twist. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. And then when we're ready to come out of this, we're going to gently release the right foot by engaging the right leg. Bring the left hand to the floor, right foot to the floor. Shift your weight back to straighten your left leg along. And you might notice that you just stay here with the whole sole of the foot on the floor. For me, I find that gives me a fun, crazy stretch across the front of my foot, and it feels nice. Sometimes it feels good to lift just the 5 toes. Sometimes it feels good to peel the whole sole of the left foot up. And then sometimes it feels good to externally rotate the whole left thigh. So it's coming from the top of the hip and not from the bottom of the foot. We're trying to see if we can roll from the top of the hip. Yep. And maybe you roll in and out a few times and you're like, oh yeah, that's fun. And then are we breathing? That thing's important. And then wherever you happen to have found yourself, can you still claw your blocks and pull your heart forward? Yeah. And then we'll go ahead and come to our still neutral spot. And now we're going to work for maybe our half Hanuman. So the leg might come forward. We might be at a 3/4 Hanuman or 7/8. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. And then you're noticing what feels interesting to you and your sensations. You're noticing how you're breathing and how you're responding. Yeah. We're working to keep the front leg as straight as possible. Our heart is pulling forward and our left toes are pulling back towards our left knee. Yeah. We've got about one more breath cycle here. Are you breathing? And then very gently, you'll start to come out of that. So you might inhale, slide the foot back a little bit, plant the heel, plant the sole, bend the knee, plant the palms, step yourself back to downward facing dog. Take a moment to just hang out in down dog for about 2 to 3 breath cycles. 2 to 3 breath cycles. And people at home, you don't have a blanket fairy there, so you might need to remove your own blanket. The people in person, the blanket fairy has removed your blankets. So when you're ready, we'll go ahead and inhale, shift yourselves forward through plank. You might come through an up dog or cobra, but we're all going to make our way onto our bellies when we're done, so you figure out how to get there. Figure out how to get there. And then when you find yourself on your bellies, let's do heads up, 7 up. Yep. And as best as you can, maybe slide a little bit more of your fingers towards the opposite elbow so that there's more supporting your forehead. Yeah. And I want you to just notice what you can let go of in the body. So maybe you need to fidget around with the feet so they feel appropriate for you. Sometimes it feels good to have the feet at least hip distance apart with the toes pointing in. Sometimes it feels good to have the toes pointing out. Sometimes it feels like you have to let go of some tension around your shoulders, maybe around the belly. You just take a moment to pause here in this Makrasana position and you just breathe. And I want you to imagine that it was possible for you to give the floor about 5% more of your weight. How can you give the floor about 5% more of your weight? What do you have to let go so that the floor can have 5% more? Yeah. We'll just take 2 more breath cycles here. Maybe you up the ante and give the floor 7% of your weight. Or more correctly, an additional 7% of your weight. Fantastic. All right. From here, we're going to go ahead and bring our hands alongside our rib cage. I want you to press yourselves to a hands and knees position. Hands and knees. Once you find yourselves in hands and knees, just because we haven't done this, you're going to inhale and make a cow shape. And you're going to exhale and make a cat shape. And you're going to do about 5 of those. And you're just going to feel what that feels like. We usually start the practice this way, but we didn't. What do you feel like now? Feel like there's more movement, more breath. Okay. After you've done 5 sets of cats and cows, you'll come to stillness. Come to neutral. Go ahead and lower your forearms down to the mat. And you can take the prayer position if that works for you. You can have forearms in the number 11 shape, but let's make sure our elbows are directly underneath our shoulders. And then I want you to round through your spines like happy little cats. Shift your weight forward so that the armpits are over the elbows. Curl both sets of toes under, and then start to lift your pelvis up to where the wall and the ceiling meet. From there, you might walk your feet closer to your face, but for all of us, we're going to lift up through our happy inner armpits by pushing down through our outer elbows, outer pinky fingers, lifting up through those front ribs. And you stay here in this dolphin position as long as comfortable for you. And then when you are done, you are going to make your way to a child's pose, but you'll just pause and you'll breathe. Yeah, and those of you that are in your dolphin, you might lift the leg, you might not, but you're just pausing and you're breathing. Pausing and you're breathing. Yeah. And then we'll all meet in child's pose. And when you get to child's pose, notice if you want your arms forward. Notice if you want your arms back. You choose what works for you. And that might take a little bit of exploration. So you might start in one position and then be like, I wonder what this other one would feel like. I think one of the biggest benefits of being present is that we can be curious, you know? I think sometimes when we're focused on the future or perseverating over the past, is there's not always the sense of curiosity and openness. It's always more of like a planning or fixing, at least for me. And so curiosity is an indication that I'm present. What is the indication for you that you're present? All right. Let's go ahead and gently come out of this. So if you're in child's pose, you're going to extend your arms forward if they're not, and then slither your bodies forward like a snake. And then once again, awkwardly make your way onto your back. Okay. And when you find yourself on your backs, I want you to take a moment to notice, do you want your legs straight? Do you want your legs bent? But you're going to take the biggest 3 breaths you've taken all day today. Big breaths in and big breaths out. Letting there be a bit of sound that feels comfortable for you, giving that fluffy breath a visit. Oh, there we go. Yeah, one more. Oh, yeah, fantastic. Well, from here, we've got a couple of options. Some of you might want to go straight to Supta Baddha Konasana, drawing the soles of the feet together, letting the knees open, and you might stay there for a couple breath cycles. Some of you might want to reach your feet up towards the sky and play with just the Viparita Karani position, staying there for a bit. Some of you might want to take a supported bridge. You're going to choose what feels best for you. And you're going to breathe here for about 5 breath cycles. If you want more fluffy breaths, by all means, do fluffy breaths. And you just pause and you breathe. And then after you've taken your 5 breaths, if there's something else that feels more exciting, more interesting to you, you go ahead and explore that. And you start to make your way to a position where you can settle in, where you can be still, where you can be comfortable. And you just take your time. And you do have props, so use the props in whatever way feels comfortable, supporting, nurturing for you once you've done that. And those of you that are still exploring shapes, start to make your way to whatever shape you want to stay in for our Shavasana for today. And those of you that are in your Shavasana, I want you to take a moment to make sure that the body feels fully supported, feels even right to left. Goes in tight. Goes in tight. And as we find ourselves in our final shape, I want you to take a couple breaths and just really allow yourself to settle in. And as we settle in, I encourage you to notice where the breath feels the most easy for you to connect to. And so for some of us, the breath is easiest to connect to when it is in the nostrils. We can very easily notice the breath entering and exiting the nostrils. For some of us, it's easier to connect to the breath as it's in the ribs, as the ribs widen with the inhale and soften with the exhale. For some of it's within the abdomen. And so you want to just find where the breath is easiest for you to connect to. And then you will just let your awareness stay there. Not to worry, the mind is going to wander because that's what the mind does. But when it does, you just come back to the breath. And you just pause and you breathe. And as you continue to focus on the breath, you notice if there's any unnecessary tension around your mouth and see if you can let that go. You notice if there's any holding, maybe in the fingers or the toes, and you see if you can let that go. And you're always connected to the breath. So even though you are aware of the body and aware of the sensations, your North Star is always the breath. And so for the next few moments, I'll leave you with your breath and you just continue to breathe. The mind will wander, that's its job. And when it happens, you'll just notice that and gently guide it back to the breath. And you'll be here with you and your breath for the next few moments. And I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this place, by all means, please stay here. The movement is calling you. Allow it to re-enter into the physical form, whatever way feels best for you. Those in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. Those in movement, you might start to wiggle and yawn and stretch before you make your way over to one of your sides. And when you do find yourself on your side, take a few breath cycles there to pause. And you just breathe here and you notice what it feels like to allow the ribs to press into the floor and the floor to press back into the ribs. Gently, you'll start to roll your chest more towards the floor, press into your top hand, and then start to walk the spine up to vertical. When you are vertical, I do encourage you to elevate your bum on a block or a blanket. And then when you are seated, take the opportunity to sit well. So if you need to remove any flesh from underneath the sit bones to have a firm base, you do that. You need to shrug the shoulders a little bit and create circles so that the shoulders stack over the hips. Do that. You need to move the head around a bit so the ears stack directly over the shoulders. You do that. And then as we've been doing lately, you'll turn both palms to face the sky. Tuck the index finger in on the left hand. Tuck the left index finger into the base of the thumb. If you need inspiration today, let the left palm stay facing the sky. If you need grounding, let the left palm turn to the floor. And on the right hand, tuck the middle finger and index finger towards the base of the palm. Draw the right palm in front of your face. The right thumb rests on the right ring finger, right nostril, ring finger, pinky finger on the left nostril. Then we exhale all the breath through both nostrils. Take an inhale just through your left nostril. Top of your inhalation, close your left nostril and exhale out just through your right. When you need to, draw the breath in through your right. Top of your inhalation, close the right and exhale out just through the left. And you'll do that a few more times on your own. And you're working on staying as tall through the spine, but yet relaxed. You're allowing your head to stay centered over this pelvis. And then you're noticing how smooth you can make the breath. With every subsequent breath, notice where you can soften just a little bit more effort. No rush, but the next time you exhale out just for your left nostril, you'll lower your right hand down, letting the right hand match the left. And then just notice your breath now. What is that thing for you that lets you know that you're present in this moment and all moments of your life? Is it a feeling of generosity? Is it a feeling of curiosity? Is it ease? Is it excitement? Is it peace? Whatever it is, I think it's important for us to know what that is so we can have a better indication of when we're out of balance so that we can come back into balance. So as you're here for these last 3 or 4 breath cycles, I want you to just breathe and to notice where in your life you might set that intention to be just a bit more present. And for you, that might be whatever adjective you use to describe it. Trusting that if you're feeling that thing, you're doing that thing. At the end of your next exhalation, gently draw the hands to heart center, Anjali Mudra. Really press the palms into each other, feeling all 10 fingers touch. Notice the weight of the thumbs into your sternum and really press the sternum back to the thumbs. Soften any unnecessary tension around your neck and mouth. And then gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big inhalation through the nose. Audible exhale. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And then draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the sound within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, and the sound within each of you. Namaste.